Ohio School District tells teachers they do not have to inform parents of a student's name and pronoun changes. And Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, the administration overhauls the state's controversial policy. Joining us right now, Director of Outreach and Parents Defending Education, Erika Sanzi. Erika, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Jan.
Let's start in Ohio, where in the city of Mentor, the public school superintendent there, Timothy Hammond, sent an email to middle and high school teachers that they do not have to inform parents of a student's name or pronoun change if the student requests it informally. Tell us more about this policy and why the school district sent out that email to teachers.
So there have been some updates on this story since. I watched the footage of the board meeting. So the email was sent to all teachers in grades 6 through 12. So that would be children starting at age 11. And it came from the assistant superintendent saying that if a child wanted to change their name or I think also included their pronouns informally, so be called that in school, but not have the records changed in the system, there was no reason to involve the parents. And again, that went out to all teachers in grades 6 through 12 under the assistant superintendent's name. At a recent school board meeting, the superintendent said he actually authored the email, even though it was sent under the assistant superintendent's name. And then he went on to say that it was sent to everybody in error, and really it was about a one-off case, and it should have gone to either just one teacher or perhaps a very small number of teachers. What makes this story strange and a little bit suspect is that when asked if they had sent a clarification out to all of those teachers to say, please disregard that email, it wasn't meant to go to all of you, they acknowledged that they had not sent an email out clarifying that that had been a mistake. So it's unclear how you would let, weeks or even could be a month by now go by with an email that was sent out erroneously and then admit that you have done nothing to fix that or clarify that information.
Exactly. Either way, though, initially parents were infuriated. They say they were saying this was a violation of their parental rights by implementing these types of internal guidelines. What does the law say? What are the rights of parents, and how did Parents Defending Education get involved?
So we got involved because parents contacted us from that district. The backlash over this in that district was pretty intense and pretty fast. Now, they're not unique. You and I have talked many times about how this is a trend where allowing students to change their names, change their pronouns, and therefore, change all the accommodations that they use during the school day. It is not unusual for that to be happening behind the backs of parents. And that's largely because state policy often says that the parents have no right to know. So if I go to my Department of Education website in my state, it states explicitly that if a child is, basically living a double life at school, the parents have no right to know. Now, Ohio is interesting because they're saying that Title IX is the reason that they had to do this. But that's just incorrect. Title IX does not require that you do this. Now, if the Biden administration gets the changes that they proposed on Title IX through, then that would be the case. It would be a federal mandate that this information be withheld from parents. But at the moment, that's not the case. Also, the Biden administration did put out a new interpretation of Title IX. So they've included gender identity in that interpretation, which isn't binding, but it's sort of like, this is how we now interpret Title IX. But Ohio is part of that group of states that are part of there was a lawsuit or something. And so Ohio right now doesn't have to even comply with that because they're in that group of states that right now cannot be constrained and that interpretation cannot be implemented because of something happening in the courts. So the superintendent is misinformed by saying that Title IX is the reason, though I understand that it's confusing, but these officials and their attorneys need to be much better informed as to what is and is not true when they tell parents why they are implementing these policies.
Right. And on the flip side, in Virginia, the Virginia Department of Education actually took a step further and released new policies Friday detailing how school districts should handle students who identify as transgender with a heavy emphasis on parental rights. The document replaces a previous model that was published by the department under the former Democratic governor. So tell us about Governor Youngkin's policy.
So Governor Youngkin, largely won his election because of his commitment to parents on the issue of education, and again, largely around parental rights. So the prior policy looked a lot like what you and I were just describing, where everything is based on gender identity instead of sex, and that would allow, students to access whatever locker rooms, restrooms. They could sleep overnight on field trips based on their gender identity. So could the staff. They could participate in athletics, etc. Governor Youngkin has really flipped that. So he's moving much back to a place where you are not going to be making accommodations for children, for minors, based on their gender identity if their parents are not in the loop. And he also reminded people that, because what we hear a lot is that if you inform parents that puts children in danger because their parents are dangerous, because if they don't tell their parents, that must mean their parents are dangerous, right? They make this huge leap about people that they don't know. So there's a reminder also that if you think a child is in danger in their own home or that their parents are going to harm them, they are obligated by law as mandatory reporters to contact the authorities. So this rhetoric around these parents are dangerous, either
if they're dangerous, they be reported anyway.
If you really think that, right? Exactly. And otherwise, you're basically just, smearing a group of people that you don't know based on an ideology that, again, that not everybody needs to subscribe to, that doesn't belong in schools, and that Governor Youngkin is now standing up and saying you're not going to do this behind the backs of parents.
Erika Sanzi, the Director of Outreach at Parents Defending Education. We appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.